On this channel, I usually don't dabble into political stuff, but seeing as the upcoming election has been a water cooler topic as of late, I decided to get my feet wet, so to speak, in this. So I have been watching the interview that the NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, gave to Donald Trump. They invited him to come on a panel, which they interview presidential candidates and whatnot. And after watching it, it just came off as a bad Saturday Night Live sketch. It's like the writers of SNL, they really don't have to do a whole lot because in a way Donald Trump just gives them material really. So I don't know, these sketches right there. So what did they say? Art imitates life. But it's like I'm watching Donald Trump and Alec Baldwin before he got into that mess with the what happened on his set of the independent movie Rust. Before he got into all that, he was dead on Donald Trump. And as I watched the real Donald Trump answer these questions that these sisters are asking him, it's like I'm watching an SNL sketch here. But the question I really do have is, did Donald Trump's team pretty much handpick these journalists to interview him? Because to me, they're not really pushing back hard enough against Trump. And it seems like with a Donald Trump, he doesn't want to go up against thorough interviewers. You wouldn't see him have a one-on-one with a Lester Holt. You wouldn't see him have a one-on-one with even Roland Martin or who else? Ed Gordon. Not even a Tavis Smiley. But if this is what the NABJ had to offer as far as interviewers go, then the NABJ should be ashamed of themselves. And this isn't an indictment on the sisters, but I just think that they were used and that they were just put in a position that they quite clearly weren't ready for or equipped to handle. Because there's clearly no strong, thorough journalist to offer that pushback against Donald Trump and his rhetoric and his line of answers, really. And the thing that's a true disappointment is the people. And the people out there, they're willing to vote for Donald Trump in spite the fact that he sounds like Eric Cartman. In spite the fact that he doesn't really answer questions, he just deflects and he just goes off on tangents. I'm beginning to think that Donald Trump has cognizant issues. Never mind Joe Biden, but people should look at Donald Trump and be like, geez, could he serve the 4 years? Should we have to really look at him and keep our eyes out and see if he doesn't go off the rails mentally and see if he's all right? I mean, that's the impression I get from a Donald Trump when I watched this interview. The other thing that really stood out to me was when the sisters asked him them questions about the January 6th. He kind of just deflected there too, because instead of rising to the occasion and condemning the acts done by the people that were involved in that insurrection, part of my pronunciation, he just went and just sidestepped the whole issue and brought up Seattle and Minnesota. And for those who aren't keeping score, Seattle and Minnesota is where they had the protest for George Floyd. I mean, George Floyd pretty much the incident with George Floyd took place in Minnesota. And subsequent protests, of course, happened in Minnesota and in Seattle. But yet, Donald Trump just sideswiped that. He just put all the focus on the George Floyd riots, even though if he didn't come out and say that, and just completely ignored the whole January 6th thing. I mean, I understand why he's ignoring it, really, because Donald Trump instigated that whole thing. The people that are supporters of Donald Trump, they stormed the Capitol on the pretense that the election was rigged. So Donald Trump was the catalyst for all them doing that. And, I mean, and when push came to shove, Donald Trump pretty much just disavowed any connection or association with anybody involved in that entire thing. So if they're going to still support Donald Trump, they're idiots too. And this video, I'm not trying to say who you should and shouldn't support. I'm just laying out the facts and my observation on all this. And the optics of this is this. The interview was just bad. The journalists in question they weren't strong enough to really hang with Donald Trump. And I think that was by design, because I don't think Donald Trump would want to get in the presence of some strong and thorough interviewers that aren't going to let him off the hook that easily. Them sisters, unfortunately, although they gave it their all, although they gave it the college try, so to speak, they let him off the hook. They should have kept him on the hook. So it'll be interesting to see what line of questions they give to Kamala Harris. And for those of you out there that, identify yourselves as FBA and all those other labels, Donald Trump, those interviews never once asked about reparations. They never once brought up police reform or tougher laws against police that do acts of brutality to unarmed civilians, particularly black civilians. They never brought that up. I know they brought up the police immunity thing, but I think they could have did a better job at that questioning. And I understand why they ain't gonna bring up reparations, because I guess that's an unspoken thing with a lot of these politicians that are being interviewed, and that is we have no plans nor intentions of giving any reparations to the descendants of slaves, really. And they're going to say, well, I personally didn't own slaves. You personally weren't slaves. Your grandparents weren't. It isn't about that. And I could go and do a deep dive into the whole reparations thing. But just for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on what was asked at the panel or the interview for Donald Trump as conducted by the NABJ. Overall, it was just a hot mess, really. And it was just a poor showing for a city like Chicago, that's a majority black city, to have these journalists up on there that didn't represent the city in the best of light, that pretty much came out just weak. Instead of coming out swinging, they came out singing. So that's what it looked like to me, really. So right now we're at the 9-minute mark, getting ready to be 10. So audience, tell me what you think. Let me know in the comment box. This is Iron Will Media.